Hey, Dr. Amber here. Today's episode is part of a 10-part series for my virtual book tour. Yes, I am going on tour virtually, and I'm having 10 amazing conversations with people that I know and I really admire around the topics of overwhelm, overstimulation, dysregulation, all in preparation for my new book, A Parent's Guide to Self-Regulation, a practical framework for breaking the cycles of dysregulation and mastering emotions for parents and children. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. This conversation I really enjoyed, and I think you'll get a lot out of it too. And also, don't forget to order your copy of the book. You can get it on Amazon, Target, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, literally wherever you buy books. Okay? Enjoy the episode, and we'll talk soon. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another night of virtual book touring with me, Dr. Amber, and we are on tour to celebrate the upcoming release of my new book, A Parent's Guide to Self-Regulation, a practical framework for breaking the cycles of dysregulation and mastering emotions for parents and children. I am so excited for this book to finally almost be here with us. June 18th is the release date, and I have been having a series of conversations with people that I admire about the topic of dysregulation, emotional regulation, wellness, and tonight I will be talking with someone who is basically like the queen of motherhood wellness at this point. And we're going to be talking about breaking cycles of burnout through wellness for moms. So as she comes on, how have you all been doing? How are things going? I hope that you've been enjoying the virtual book tour. And if this is your first one, welcome. Oh, I think Precious is coming. Hold on, y'all. Hey,
Hey, girl, hey.
how are you?
Girl, no, you did not call me the queen of
Oh,
motherhood
you heard
wellness.
that?
You do that to me today.
I mean, you've been doing your thing. I've been watching, like, girl, she's just out here doing it. So, yes, you are doing an amazing job. And that's why I was like, okay, I want to talk to Precious about wellness and how we can merge these topics of burnout, wellness, but then also dysregulation, emotional regulation, because I feel like there's definitely some sort of threading with all of them. And I just felt like you were the perfect person to talk to about it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, let's maybe introduce ourselves. For anyone who is not familiar with me, again, I'm Dr. Amber, clinical psychologist and author of this brand new book, A Parent's Guide to Self-Regulation, which I'm so excited about. And again, that is why we're having these conversations. This book is really for any parent who has noticed that they are trying to teach their children emotional regulation skills, better learn how to manage their emotions, but they're finding like, hey, I want to teach these skills, but I actually don't have these skills myself. And if you're realizing that, you're not alone. Trust me. Trust me, you're not alone. So this book is absolutely for you. Precious, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, everybody. I am Precious K. Williams. I'm a mommy wellness coach and international wellness speaker out of Atlanta, Georgia. My family is from Ghana, West Africa. I was born in Chicago, Illinois, went to Howard University, so I have a very eclectic mix and different things. So you're going to hear a little bit of Nuck If You Buck, a little bit of Chicago Mass Choir, all of that mixed in between there. But at the end of the day, I'm a Jesus girl. I love the Lord, and I love mothers. I love both of them almost equally because I believe God has put a little bit of Himself in all of us, and He's created us in His image. And as daughters of God, we have to treat ourselves better. We have to let people around us who love us treat us better. And so I'm very, very passionate about building generational health and very, very passionate about helping women really get out of that martyr syndrome or that cycle of being last in their lives.
Absolutely. And you know, I love all of that because it's so necessary. I too am extremely passionate about that. And so I just feel like we have to do it. We have to figure out what are the ways that we better care for ourselves. What are the ways that we are no longer putting ourselves last? Because again, what I talk about in the book, if we are not doing those things, it absolutely leads to this cycle of burnout, but then also this inability to actually handle some of the bigger, deeper things like our emotions,
Mm.
feelings, not only the big feelings from our kids, but the big feelings within us too. So, yes, I'm trying to think, where should we even begin? Because I know there's so about this topic, so much.
Well, before
And again, also,
we even start, we got to say congratulations, because as a mom yourself, a wife, a practitioner, all the things, to put your thoughts onto paper, we are so excited. So thank you for the work that you're doing. Bravo, bravo, bravo.
thank you so much. I do appreciate that. And I am trying to learn how to slow down and really take in the moment of the celebratory pieces. And so, I've really been like trying to really take it all in. Like, this is such a big moment and such an accomplishment, especially like you said, like, I think for moms, it's so hard to make the time for the things that you really want. Like, of course, today we're talking about wellness, but I think even for just, our desires and our passions, writing a book was something that I have wanted to do for a very long time. And so to be able to really, be very bold about it, courageous about it, really firmly committing to this process has been challenging, but also such a joy. And so thank you for acknowledging that.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, anybody, as we're having our conversation, you all, if y'all have questions about wellness, well-being, burnout, please drop them in, of course. But I think we should start with, I would love to hear from you, Precious, to start, because I know that you've been working with moms a lot lately around the topic of wellness and burnout, and maybe just tell me a little bit of what you've been seeing in your work with moms around this topic.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said something that I believe in. So I have a framework called a LIFT framework, where I help moms do four things. And the second of the things that I help them do is to ignite their spark. A lot of times, burnout does not just come from being tired. Burnout is a state of being. It is from having more responsibility than you have outlet. In my opinion, right? So you have more responsibility, and even the things that you may love, the blessings have felt more like burdens because there's a lack of an outlet. And so when you talked about writing your book or doing things that you're passionate about, a lot of moms I found have forgotten themselves once they became a mom. They've decided that they were the vehicle to bring their children into the world, but then they no longer matter. And that God, it doesn't operate that way. Like, you're still a being and you still matter. And so you don't want to forget yourself, forget your passions along the process, because that's where burnout comes in. There are seasons like right now, there are days where I'm tired, right? But I'm not burned out because I don't have a system. I'm not living in a state where I have more responsibilities than I have outlets, right? I have the same level of responsibility, more kids,
Mm.
and they're getting older with more personality, but my outlets, my coping mechanisms, who I am as a person is still present. And so I'm noticing that when moms release that weight of my sole identity is to make sure my children survive and turn their light back on themselves, make sure, am I thriving? Do I exist? What do I like? Do I have outlets? Then that weight of burnout begins to fade or begins to self-repair, as
Oh,
you talked about self-regulation.
yes. Slow clap. 'Cause, girl, oh my God, you said so much there. Like that right there, you articulated something that I think I have felt personally, but then also in my work with moms and women too, the responsibilities and the outlets. I think that was the perfect way to say that, because it's like, you're absolutely right. I'm thinking about this book writing process, and a lot of times I get the question of how did you do it? It's challenging with kids, and yes, absolutely. But I think the piece that sometimes we forget is, for me, that was an
Yeah,
outlet. It was
yeah,
something, joy. It was, and again, not this specific thing is going to be the thing for everybody, but for me, it was like sitting down to think about this book, to write this book, to create this thing that lit me up. It made me feel so joyful, so passionate. That was an outlet. So
yeah,
yeah, it was challenging. Yeah, it was work. Yeah, I had to put time into it, but outlet, huge
yeah.
outlet. It really gave to me. It really fueled me. It added to me because it felt like one of my outlets, and it was beautiful. So
Yeah.
I love that you said that. And I think, thinking about our emotions, right? Like, I think the one thing that I notice that keeps women stuck is the feelings of the guilt, the shame, the judgment, the self blame. That's like, okay, well, I want to do this thing for myself. I want to take care of myself. I want to make this time for myself, but I feel all these big feelings and I don't want to feel those things, or I don't want
Yeah.
to, I'm just going to stay as mom. Like, I'm going to do this. And it's just like, no, how can I actually support you to work through those emotions so they don't feel like they're taking over you and keeping you stuck in this place that really is just not allowing you to actually grow and expand, right? Like,
Yeah.
yes, we are moms, and that's a huge part of us, but what else? And mom, and there's so much more that can add to us, fuel us. I love
Yeah.
that.
And you said something great, and you've been talking about this. That's why I love this. I love the internet sometimes. It's a crazy place, and sometimes we want to get off of here and burn it down. But the reality is, it connects people who think so similarly. It lets you know there is an alignment. There's a movement happening. And the movement is reminding ourselves that we want our kids to have a beautiful life, but everything about our childhood wasn't bad, right? Like, it's okay to think about, like, the fact that my mom and dad, they went places. They had, my family's West African, so they had, like, their community. They had things that they had to do. We used to go outside for hours on end. Who knows what my mom and daddy was doing when we was gone? Like, there were elements of our childhood that worked, and then there were elements of our childhood that we don't want to keep or that no longer fit in our day and age. But I just think that we in our desire to elevate, we've taken on more weight. We're not providing ourselves the freedom and that comes with the time we live in, right? And so, like I said, my framework is like igniting your spark is key, but there's freedom. Like, that's guilt and the shame that people are carrying. Like, this is 1999. It's not the case. If you have the income, the means, if you have the creativity, the resourcefulness to spread your wings and find outlets, spread your wings and find outlets, or hire a therapist, hire a mommy wellness coach. Don't sit and suffer alone, right? Because there are people who have literal apps, literal things at our fingertips to support you in a way that our moms never did. And that's why generational health is so important to me, because we're passing this down when we really do have a way out of that burnout cycle.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There's tools. And this is why I like talking about this stuff, because as a psychologist, I'm always thinking about the emotions, right? Like, what I just heard you say is there are tools at our disposal. There are resources for us to use literally right in front of us. And many of us are still like, no. And
Right.
why? Some sorts emotionally, there's something holding us back, or there's something that's making us feel like that is bad or wrong, or we need to be judged for it. And it's like, no, let's use the tools and the skills and the resources, because what thinking about what are we trying to build, like to your point, generational health is powerful. And so it
Yeah.
takes that shift to really say, hey, there's nothing wrong with me utilizing the help in front of me. There's nothing wrong with me shifting course and maybe doing things different than my mom
Yeah.
did. This is probably what my mom and grandmother probably wanted for me, to do it differently, so I won't have to suffer, so I won't have to struggle. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Wow,
I
so
love
good.
it. I love this. So, like, right, and I know, like, you being an author now, what did you like? What? How did this book help you? How did writing this guide help you on your own reparenting journey or your own healing journey? Because, like I said, I talk about that igniting your spark and that freedom mindset. Were there things that you wrote for other people that we know the message is typically for the messenger first? What were some of the things that helped you along your journey?
All of it. So let me just say, it's funny, sometimes I get the question of, why did you decide to write this, or why this topic? And I will be very honest, this was not something I felt like I could write.
Mm.
But it just wasn't something I could write. And I think that's why God is so powerful. Like, things just kind of come into our life and it's what we need in the moment. I knew I wanted to write a book, reached out to a publisher about a completely different topic, and they said, actually, we would love it if you could write a book about self-regulation for parents. And I was like, mm, um, in my head, I'm like, I don't know how to do that because I
I'm struggling
I
myself.
am struggling myself. And so it's so funny how this opportunity came to me because it was like, hey, this is something you need to work on. So what better way to work on this than to write this book? And so
Hmm.
I was thinking about this today, literally in the car. I wrote this book for me. I wrote this book for me, and I don't know why life had it that way, but I really think that this book, like you said, primarily it was for me. I thought about my challenges, my struggles with emotional regulation. I thought about how I felt ill equipped to really teach my children how to regulate themselves because there were moments where I was really struggling with it. I thought about how, to your earlier point, my childhood was good,
Yeah.
but I don't think that my parents really prepared me to really talk about emotions or manage my emotions well. It was something I had to just figure out. I thought about how I wish that I was so much farther ahead in terms of my emotional coping skills as a
Hmm.
parent. And I think that's really shocking to say as a parent, but then also as a psychologist. But there's something about becoming a parent that really turns your world upside down. It's
Yeah.
like, you think you have things together and then you have children and moms and like, yo, I don't have any. Right? So, I wrote this book for me, and saying that really just means that everything in this book is what I felt like I needed to really get to the other side of feeling like I can be present, I can be emotionally well, and I can now utilize the tools to cope with big emotions, challenges, transitions in my family, and then model it for my kids. So much of it, like literally all of it in here. There's, in this book, there is a framework. I call it the PCR method. And when you all get your copy of this book, you'll learn all about this. And so I really think about when a parent is emotionally dysregulated or when they feel like they don't have these coping skills, there's these three approaches that we need to take to get to the other side of that. One, we need to be practical. So there's some really good practical skills for how do I identify my parenting triggers? How do I actually learn new coping skills? How do I implement this into my day to day? I also feel like we need to be really conscious or aware of, okay, well, what are the things that I'm thinking about as a parent? What are the things that I'm bringing into my parenthood journey from my childhood that I might need to shift through? But then we also need to be realistic. And the realistic part is that parenting is hard. Being a mom is
Yeah.
hard. So what are the things we need to do to accept some of that and stop fighting against it so that we can actually just move with the flow of life, right?
Yeah.
So that I know that was a very long answer, but all of it, everything is because I truly a better mom now because of writing this. And so I
Yeah.
want people to feel that feeling. So I'm excited for people to read this.
Yay. So am I. I'm so excited. I love everything you said because it just sounds so, it is so aligned with how mom sees transformation and how I saw transformation. Typically, what we do for others is what we first needed done for ourselves. And a lot of times when we're creating solutions in the world, it's because of a problem we once had or a problem that people came to us for. And so before I lost 50 pounds or before I broke my own burnout cycle,
Yep,
I didn't have anything like the program I had. I didn't have friends like you, right? Or colleagues like you. I was literally just looking into the air and saying, Lord, if you get me out of this,
absolutely.
I promise I will help as many women as possible get out of it too. And so bravo to you for doing that in the midst of it. It's a good model for not only your children, but for other women watching that you don't have to arrive before you can help someone because there's somebody who's screaming and throwing stuff in their house, right? You feel dysregulated, but they might be, what I'm saying, on the verge of being called the police call, right? And so there's always levels to where you can help pull someone forward, wherever you are.
Absolutely. And I know I saw a comment, someone asked, where can they get this book for their family and friends? anywhere you want to buy books, because the wonderful thing about this book is that it's everywhere. And so that's what I'm so happy about. Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target, Walmart. Literally order it wherever you like. You can order it today, and the book officially releases June 18th. So you will have your copy by June 18th. So please do get your copy. But Precious, to that point, that is so true. And you know what? As I've been sharing and talking more about this book, part of me was a little torn about, I've been a psychologist for 10 years, and it was like, okay, do you actually want to admit to people that you struggle with this, right? Like, do you actually want to admit that you didn't feel like you had this under control? And I was, going back and forth, and it was just like, I have to be authentic. I have to be honest. But also, like you said, it's like, we often have to go through the things that we need first to then be able to share it with other people.
Right.
But also, thought was like, how amazing would it be to just be honest and show people that we don't have to be perfect, and also that this journey of motherhood and parenthood is an ever evolving one.
Right.
And nobody starts out knowing everything, right? But the beauty is that we actually get to be aware and figure out what's going on. What do I actually need to improve? Where can I grow? And then really get the work done, And I loved this process of really just being real and honest with myself and others. Like, hey, I have struggled with this, but guess what? This is the work that I did to get to the other side. This is the exercises I went through. These are the thought processes I went through. These are the affirmations that I utilized. And these all have helped me be better. And you don't have to be perfect in your journey either. It's really about your effort and your intention to be better, for yourself and your kids, your family. So,
Yeah. But I mean, that's like what you said was so true about this motherhood journey being ever evolving, and the same for wellness, right? There are some things in life,
mhm,
law, business, let's say culinary arts, right? Where you can kind of arrive, you cook a lasagna every single week and it turns out amazing, right? My mom cooks okra stew every single time, it turns chef's kiss. Motherhood or wellness is not that type of life, right? There are so many levels and layers and nuances to it. And you thinking you're struggling, meanwhile someone can see you with your kids and be like, oh my God, you're the model mom, right? So I think that sometimes you just have to realize that your standard for what you feel like is struggling is someone's goals.
yeah,
And same for me. I might be like, oh, I know I had an Oreo today, or I had some Oreos. I don't say that because I have a non-restrictive wellness program. But I may say, oh, yeah, I haven't been to the gym since Friday. Meanwhile, someone hasn't been to the gym in 5 months. So I think that we have to give ourselves, you doing this is giving people the realistic view, the non-calculated, non-aesthetic, non-timeline version of womanhood.
yeah,
We're not a walking box. We are humans, and we have other people to consider. I have 3 girls. They have 3 sets of vaginas, 3 hormones, 3 sets of hormones. Right? Like there is literally no way that I can just have this picture perfect life every day. And so we have that is causing even more women to feel burned out because they're trying to keep up with this
yeah,
standard that isn't even real.
yeah.
So I mean, I would even encourage you to potentially not use the word struggling, in the fact that you're working on it, you're striving towards it, you're elevating, you're repairing, or you're taking steps towards it all the time. But what you may consider struggling really is someone else is not even being aware that they have something to correct.
Absolutely. That is so, so true. And that's a good point. I loved all of that. You're so right about that. And I see we're getting so many good comments. I love that everyone is so engaged in this process. But yeah, Precious, like I feel like we could talk about this all day. Like I just keep going back to like the connection between the wellness piece, but then also the societal pressures, and how, needing to take care of yourself is such an important, like we all need to be doing that for our physical bodies, but also our emotional health, our mental health. But then there's all of these societal pressures. And if we are not careful, we will believe that these pressures that we're feeling outside of ourselves are our own. And
Right.
trying to strive strive towards goals when really that's not what we want at all. And then all of that put together, not taking care of yourself, being overcome by all these pressures and societal, expectations, boom, you yelling at the kids now. Boom. You don't know how to handle your emotions. Boom. You're not sure why the kids are yelling at each other because it's just like this cycle of like, I can't take care of myself. There's all these pressures. There's all these societal demands. And now I'm burnt out. I'm overwhelmed. I have no outlets and I cannot get any sense or grasp over my emotions. Like it's just too much. It's all so related.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody said wellness can seem like yet another thing and more exhausting. And someone else said, who was a yoga instructor, that she sometimes feels like that she wants to revert back to being that impatient mom. And she's looking forward to your book. But I want to address the thing about wellness feeling like another area or task or to do thing. And I think the reality is when it is like when it is a task, gym, eat right, do right, checklist, it is another task, right? It is another weight. I believe that all women have weight to lose, especially moms, but it's not always physical weight. And so when I'm working with a client, the first thing I tell her to do is we look at your life and what's on your plate and how can we take something off before we put anything on. The biggest thing that leads to more burnout, especially in wellness, is that people are always trying to add. I'm about to do a new diet. I'm about to do this. You're trying to change and derail someone who's already on the edge.
Mm-hmm.
I want you, whoever said that, to take a deep breath.
Absolutely.
No, let's not do that. Let's see what can we remove, what can we delegate, what can we reassign within our homes, within our heart, what people in relationships are no longer serving us at the capacity. I'm not doing the team cutoff, but at the capacity they are in, so that when you lighten your load, the L of my lift framework, when you lighten your load, then you have more space to even think about where now do I need to begin, right? And that is the benefit of having a coach, because they can see your blind spots where you can't.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're one of those people who the second you want to feel better, you just start doing more, that's the recipe for burnout. We don't need more. We need less.
Yep. So true. It's so funny. I see that with my therapy clients all the time. All the time. It's like, oh, I've got these goals. I want to work on these things. So I'm going to start doing this and this and this and this and this. And I'm like, hold on now.
Yeah.
Because that just feels real risky because essentially we've already, identified there's a lot going on. You're feeling, overwhelmed. I get that we have these goals, but adding this and this and this and this and this, no, no. So I love what you said. What can we lift off of your plate? What can we take away so that there is more space and for more? And you know what I have found? Again, this is why I love this conversation, because so much is about our emotions. For my clients, I have found that they're hesitant to do that process first because of some sort of anxiety or worry.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if I can't make this happen? What if I never hit my goals? Or what if I lose control? A lot of it is also about control. It's
Yep.
like, I don't want to let go because I'm going to feel like I lose control of myself, lose control of my environment. And so it's like, well, how do we actually address these emotions that are keeping you tied up and wrapped up and feeling like you got to keep adding on so you feel comfortable and safe enough to let some things go, right?
Yeah.
So like, how can we help you to get to the core of the feeling so that we can make a different decision around what needs to happen? It's so much, for me, I see, goes back to how are we handling our emotions? Are we aware of the emotional piece that's embedded in all of this? And do we have the adequate tools to manage and handle so we can move forward in a different way?
Yeah. I just love one of my clients, Tina, said exactly what I was about to say. Stop trying to say what I'm going to say. She said, not attaching my worth to the task. Everything you said when it comes to either from control to the anxiety, it typically comes down to identity. So I run an 8-week faith-based program, right? That's why we are in here today, because you and I both know that it takes more than just talking about the problem, right? Support is a verb. Women need support. But at the end of the day, that identity that realization that you're worth it, that you're a daughter of God, that your life can, will, must be better than it feels today, that it's absolutely possible because you're worth it and you're worthy, has to start. But if you continue to decide or allow the world to tell you that your value comes from what you do, how well your kids behave, how well their hair is combed, what your house looks like, all of these tasks that will not last, you will be stuck.
Yeah.
But I believe that freedom is available to all of us. We have to let that weight go. And it's not, we're not losing it. We're not shedding it. We are releasing it. We are taking it and saying it's above me now. I am more than what I do.
Right.
I am more than what I accomplish. And that if I let this, I told my client this yesterday, we were doing our end of cohort superlatives. I said, I want you to believe that indeed, if you don't do it, sometimes it will get done. That is just the case. If you don't do it, indeed, it will still get done.
Right.
And we have to really let that weight go. And it doesn't happen before you let it go. It's by letting it go and then seeing that the world still turned,
Yes.
that you get that freedom and that you can trust yourself to let something else go.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Love, you're right. And again, I talk about this. I wish I remembered the chapter, but again, y'all buy the book. It's in here. I talk about that. Like if you're struggling with that feeling, whatever the feeling is, anxiety, guilt, shame, whatever the feelings are, fear, that's not allowing you to actually just let go of some things. And again, whatever it is you need to be letting go of. Sorry, there's so many sirens going on. I don't know if y'all hear that,
Yeah.
but if you're letting go, this book can really help you with that. If you feel like you are kind of stuck in a moment and not able to move forward, again, whether it's with your parenting or even whether it's with your wellness journey, this can help you to really get down to what is the feeling that's keeping me stuck, that's not allowing me to just let go, what's not allowing me to feel safe, feel comfortable to let go, right? Because like Precious said, we have to let go before we can actually see the possibility on the other side.
Yeah.
I really love that. And actually, it's funny. I saw a comment in here about, I think someone said, I feel like I'm scared to be a mom because of my mental health and I need support. And it's funny, someone commented on one of my posts today and she's like, I'm not even a mom yet, but I'm going to order this book because I feel like this is just supportive of where I want to go. And what I'll say is, I agree, actually, this book can help anyone who really feels like they need some more support around their emotional coping, emotional management, emotional regulation, but also to that point of being scared to be a mom. I love when I hear women talking about this pre-work of, this is what I need to do or what I feel like I need before becoming a mom. Because we're going to be honest with you, becoming a mother is work.
Yeah.
And I try to remind people all the time. I actually have a client, we're talking about this. You don't have to be perfect before you enter into motherhood. You don't have to be perfect before you become a mom. You don't have to have all of this figured out. Do you need to be thinking about it? Yes. Do you need to be addressing, any concerns you have? Absolutely. Would it be great to touch base with a therapist? Most definitely. But
Yeah.
you don't have to have everything out figured out before becoming a mom. But it's amazing that you're aware and you're thinking about these things so that you will feel ready when the time comes. Oh,
Gina said she said she's prenatal. I love that. You better be. I told my clients yesterday, prepare for the job you want. So we have a few rich aunties in our community, and moms on a mission. So she's just taking the name proudly. But the generational health impact that you're having, even as a rich auntie, even before having kids, matters. If you look back at your childhood, your parents are not the only influences that you had. Your your teachers, your tutor, your babysitter, all of these things matter. And so if we're talking about villages where people are taking are being more emotionally intelligent, taking care of themselves, where walking and moving our bodies does not look like doing too much,
right.
that's going to change the landscape for everyone.
Absolutely.
So continue to, yes, get Amber's book whatever stage in life you are, because you're in a better place, right? You're in a, not say better, but you're in a perfect place to work on some of these things before the little humans come around, and you can't, it's even harder to process because you're processing their emotions and yours at the same time.
At the same time. Because so many of us should have been having this conversation before we had the kids, and now we have
Yeah.
after, and that's okay. We're gonna get through it. But I love that you're thinking about this now. Um, I've so have enjoyed this conversation. I know we got a few more minutes.
Yeah,
Anybody?
we definitely will. I'm gonna be here all night, so no joking. But I'll be all right.
Oh, but want to just say, if anybody else have any questions before we officially wrap up? I know we got a few more minutes, but I wanted to put that out there. But yes, like
It's a Rich Auntie Book Club. I love that. So it looks like we're gonna have a self-regulation for parents Rich Auntie Book Club. So the CEO is going to be Gen Lab One. I think that's amazing. But I know that when we talk about being burned out, that's really what some of us have come tonight. I want you to leave with something, to know how do you, one, buy Amber's book. That's number one. Two, when you get Amber's book, just begin to carve out space for yourself to forgive yourself, to release the mindsets that have kept you in that cycle of thinking that if you don't burn the candle at both ends and work yourself in every hour of the day, that you're not successful, that you don't deserve rest, that wellness is out of reach, that you are not worthy of starting again, trying again, right? We just need to take one thing.
yeah,
We start with one thing that we're going to release from our weights that we're carrying. We're going to lighten our load. Then we're going to find one way to ignite our spark, right? There's just a one for one, right? How we're going to make sure that, especially if you are a mother, that you are treating yourself as well as you treat your children. That
absolutely.
if you are treating your children well and they're eating 3 meals a day and eating vegetables and drinking their water, they have their water bottle when they go to school, then at least that you are going to be giving yourself that same level of treatment. That's the easiest first step, right? So all the other steps and the meal plans and the workouts and the outlets and the freedom mindset, the meditation and the apps and all that, that comes later. But if you're watching this tonight or you're watching the replay, can we just do a one for one? Can we just let one thing go? Just or write one thing down that's really weighing you down in your spirit and replace that with one thing that does ignite or make you feel like that teenage college version of yourself, right? And then treat yourself as well as you treat your children, in the daily life task. If they have a bedtime routine, can we consider maybe not Netflixing until we fall asleep on the couch, right? These are just elements that if any of that resonates with you, then you need to reach out to Amber or I, because you don't have to stay that way.
Yep, agreed, 100%. And that sounds simple enough, easy first step. Get the book, and then also figure out just that
One
one thing. Because
thing.
we have to start somewhere, but it's not going to work if we're trying to start in 10 different places. It's just not. And we have to be okay with knowing that this is a process and we're starting here, and that one step will get us here eventually, then here, and then here, then here. But we don't have to do all of them all at one time. That's impossible. And just my hope for all of you listening is, whether it's a journey in your parenting or a journey in your wellness or whatever it is, you trust the process and know that you are capable and you have what it takes to do this. But you have to be patient and compassionate with yourself. Give yourself grace through this process, because as mom, we navigate we navigate so many things every single day,
Yeah,
and all of us do a great job showing up for the kids. The kids are growing, the kids are happy, they're learning, they're smart. Y'all are doing that. And
yeah,
so we just give ourselves our flowers, and also just love on ourselves, be kind to ourselves, because wanting to grow, wanting to evolve, wanting to take better care of yourself, wanting to learn how to better regulate your emotions and do things differently takes time. It's process, and you can do it, but it requires grace and compassion on your end to yourself. So, yes.
yes, absolutely. It doesn't start overnight, right? You didn't get burned out overnight. You didn't get on edge or your nerves bad, or all the little colloquialisms we use for dealing with what we're dealing with overnight. So you have to give yourself time. I didn't lose 50 pounds in 6 weeks, right? I lost 50 pounds over a course of months, right? My clients that lose the physical weight had to lose the emotional and mental weight first, right? And so don't get to the place where you're so well, I don't want to say don't get to the place, but if you're at that place where you're feeling so discouraged and you feel like it's not possible, let me and Amber be the example that it is possible. That with the right support, the right community, the right framework, right, the right coaching, both Amber and I, that's how we know each other. We both invested in the same coach, right? You have to, when you see there's an area of your life that you want and you're ready to change in, you will invest that time, that talent, that treasure towards it because you deserve it and you're worth it. And so, once again, I'm so proud of you, Amber. I think you're amazing. You inspire us all. And so, I want y'all to make sure y'all get that book. If you know that you're wanting to take the next step in your wellness journey, I do run an 8-week program for moms called Moms on a Mission Generational Health Program, and that has lifetime access to our community so that you can read that book with your sisters. I'm definitely going to get one and drop that link in our community chat today so that the moms could get one. We might need to do a little group book study. But you're amazing.
Yeah, no, you're amazing, and thank you so much. But I would love for you all to read this book, especially to that piece of if you're really struggling with moving forward and there's something emotionally keeping you stuck. This book can help with that so that you can get to the other side and then get to the other pieces that you're needing to address. So I cannot wait for you all to get your copy again, A Parent's Guide to Self-Regulation. I saw another comment. Someone asked if the copies will be signed. Look, if you come to my book launch, it's in DC on the 22nd, you can get a signed copy. But otherwise, copies will not be signed. But my goal, let's just put it in the atmosphere, my goal is to be able to do some traveling in the fall to other cities and hopefully do some signings there. So that's hopefully in the works. And so if I am in LA, I will let y'all know because I know the person just commented, said she's in LA. And if you want copies for your mama's program, maybe just hit me up, Gen Lab. Message me, reach out, and I can help figure out how to get enough copies for your program. We can talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
But this was such a good conversation. Thank you, Precious, for taking the time to talk with me. I know sometimes the evening hours can be touch and go for moms, but I really do appreciate you showing up and supporting me through this process and all of your support, period, through, my process of promoting this book. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
You're welcome, honey. We lighten our load over here. Hubby does bedtime every night. Okay,
Oh,
so this is my off hours. So I am excited to be here to support you, and I'm just so glad to see what God does. If you come to Atlanta and you need a moderator for that book tour, I'll be here.
I will let you know because I want Atlanta's on my list, Chicago's on my list. I need to get to the West Coast, so I will let all of y'all know. Oh, well, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. Again, you can get your copy of the book really anywhere you like to buy books. Amazon, Target, Barnes & Noble, Walmart. It's at all the places. You can also go to my website, copy, dramberthornton.com. The link is in my bio. I cannot wait for you all to order your books and start to enjoy it. And of course, when you get your copy, be sure to tag me, mention me, show me that you got your copy, and let me know what you're enjoying about the book too. All right. Well, that is it for tonight. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Precious. See ya.